coworker and friend Charlie Tucker were both tasked to oversee the project. Upon its completion, Charlie Dean was named supervisor of both Launch Complex 40 and 41 and was in charge of 70-plus employees. After that,
Real historian.
Severdrip Technology, Inc. was awarded the contract but ran into some difficulties and merged with Jacobs Engineering. In the meantime, Charlie changed jobs and became director of high and low voltage electric utilities at the Cape. After that contract ran out, Charlie was moved to Stennis Space Flight Center, where he was in charge of all the maintenance at the facility for about 5 years. Charlie retired after that, but still did a couple of short-term contracts with Jacobs. He eventually settled into retirement and enjoyed working at a saddle shop on Halifax Avenue. Charlie was an Oak Hill City Commissioner from 2005 through 2007. Charlie passed away on February 12th with Carol by his side. He will be missed. And Charlie did a lot for all of us here and did a lot for this city. And I think everybody knows that, and we all appreciate him and everything he's done. And if anyone wants to add anything to that.
He was a wealth of knowledge
He sure was.
that he shared with this town.
Yeah,
He's my best friend.
yeah. He spent many a days with me riding up and down these streets campaigning to get elected, so I really appreciate it.
Deeply missed. We're having a hard time hearing that for some reason.
Moving on, proclamation. Whereas during the search for a missing 67-year-old resident, Austin Jones located the resident on his ranch. Whereas resident Austin Jones recognized the missing resident, evaluated the situation, and took immediate and swift action to get help. Whereas resident Austin Jones performed life-saving measures by helping this resident up in cutting the livestock fence and guiding the sheriff's office to the missing resident. Whereas upon arriving on the sheriff's office, the missing resident was able to be transported for evaluation. Whereas because of resident Austin Jones' quick response and action, the resident is alive today. Now, therefore, I, Ricky Taylor, Mayor of the City of Oak Hill, Florida, do hereby proclaim on this day, 24th day of February 25th, a special day in honoring the resident Austin Jones for his heroic and life-saving actions. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Can you guys stand up in the back?
I bet.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm off, but I'll see.
All right, sit down closer to him.
Squeeze down.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we also have Captain Shivers from Volusia County Sheriff's Department here.
I put in front of you the monthly report that he's going to go over.
So good evening, everyone. Again, thank you very much for that. That was turning into a long, extended search, and because of his efforts, we were able to get to him quickly and rendered aid immediately. So that was good time. So well deserved. So moving on to January crime statistics, and I know last month we went over the last year's crime statistics, so from here on out, we're gonna do them monthly. And, we've solved 100% of our Group A crimes, which are your person's crimes. We did not have any property crimes last month. And then our total property crimes, we've had 2 drugs and narcotics, and those are investigations that our narcotics task force have opened. So those will eventually be closed, but we won't see it on future reports unless it's closed within the year. We'll see it on next year's report. So overall, that's 50% for Group A. Now, mind you, monthly, these numbers ebb and flow. Sometimes we have a lot of crimes, sometimes we don't. And they'll go up and they'll go down, but they'll all be reflected on the end of the year where the percentages are evened out. So the deputies are still doing a great job. And I pulled the calls for service for the month of January. We went to a total of 479 calls for the month of January, which totals to about 15.45 calls for service per deputy per day. 71% of those calls are self-initiated, whether they be traffic stops, directed patrols, extra patrols, things like that. So ultimately, of those calls, the vast majority, more than 3/4 of the calls are something that we're doing to help prevent crime. And that's all I have. You guys got any questions for me?
Good job.
No?
No questions. I would like to thank you guys for giving some extra patrolling around the intersection for Burns for their
Sure.
school.
Well, also, in addition, I pulled the last 2 years worth of crash data for that intersection. We've had a total of 5 crashes for the last, since January 1st of 2023. And none of them happened during school hours. Not one single one. So, whether that helps or hurts when it comes to the traffic light thing with the DOT, I don't know, but, ultimately, there's been 5 crashes at that intersection. And they're all varied throughout the nights. And there was one where I believe a pedestrian was struck, but, that was in the middle of the night,
Okay,
so,
very good.
all right.
And
Anything else, anybody from the galley?
I don't know if there's some other streets at some times around the schools, because now that there are others, was it Gaines, your street? I know some residents
Haynes
have,
Lagoon
Yeah.
and Church.
Shuffling around the streets to
yeah,
try
there,
to keep the traffic down at the school, I think.
I've seen in social media where there are some residents that seen vehicles just flying up and down those roads, whether they're running late, picking their kids up, or if
Or
they're,
just trying to
yes,
avoid?
right, correct, correct.
Yeah, so, we regularly have our county motors come down here to assist the deputy that's here,
Sure,
as well as the shifts. It's usually, they do it once every 2 weeks they're here, because they float around the entire county. And they do a traffic operation every single week and somewhere, so it's usually every 2 weeks they're in this area, so,
great.
yeah, they're always
Thank you.
out.
I appreciate it. When I see the social media or I see people making comments or concerns about it, I just want to bring
Yeah,
it
just-
to the
just forward it.
attention.
You can
Yep.
just forward that to me, and, we can make sure it happens.
Awesome.
So, all
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jane Andrews. I own the northeast corner of East Church Street, which constitutes almost 3 acres. I own almost half of the side of East Church Street. And I live every day, the school traffic coming out in the morning and coming out in the afternoon. And I'd just like to make a comment. I don't know if I just heard this, but I have heard in the past that there has been some push to try to put a real traffic light in place of the traffic light. And I would like to say that my opinion is that I'm fully 100% against that. And let me tell you why. You got people that are coming from out of town, a lot of them, that are trying to get on to whatever they got to do that day after they drop their kid off, and whatever they got to do once they pick their kid up. If you put a traffic light there, instead of the traffic flowing out of here, you're going to stop them, and then you're just, in my estimation, just going to make things worse. Just leave it the way it is. I live it every day. They come down East Church Street like 50 miles an hour. I know they're not going 25, and I know you guys don't stay in there and you don't watch it, but I do, and I live it every day. But I would prefer that you let them go. If you put a traffic light there, you're going to make more traffic congestion, in my opinion. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comment.
All right.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Citizens' participation, public input, non-agenda items.
We have one, Jimmy Darst, Randall Avenue.
Okay.
And I've been communicating with Mr. Darst about the pickleball. I asked him to come to speak a little bit about it tonight.
Okay.
My name is Jimmy Darst. I live in Indian Harbor Estates, and I want to talk to you a little bit about Mary Deweese Park. They have a single tennis court there that is in really bad repair, and I don't think it's playable. I think they keep the gate locked. So it's kind of an eyesore. So what I would like to recommend is they replace that with 3 pickleball courts. I don't know if you all have heard anything about pickleball, but it's becoming a lot more popular than tennis. A lot of the hotels around here that have pickleball courts, tennis courts, they're converting them to pickleball. All ages can play this. It used to be mostly older people that played pickleball, but the younger kids are getting into it now. And let me see what I was going to say here. And I recommend, and I not only recommend it, I went down and measured it, and they can put 3 courts in there to replace that 1 court. So again, it's an eyesore. In New Smyrna Beach and Edgewater, they are building more courts. And the reason that is because of the popularity of the sport. They're kind of overcrowded, so they're building more courts. And a lot of pro tennis players that are retired, they're playing pickleball. And if you go on YouTube, YouTube is full of pickleball tournament play, how to play pickleball, lessons, and all that kind of stuff. And the good thing about pickleball, it's all over the US and it travels well. So if you're traveling, a little pickleball paddle's about that big, it goes in a suitcase. You can play it anywhere in the country. You walk on, it's a social game, you start talking to people. I think most of my friends are pickleball players. I'm sad to say, but that's just the way it is. Anyway, there are 2 people in this community, myself one, we're certified instructors. The other person that's not here is Gina Curcio, the husband's here representing her. So that's my presentation. I want to give it a lot of consideration for doing this because of the way it is now. Mary Deweese Park is really a nice park. They put a nice baseball field in there, but that eyesore, and I guarantee you, if you put those courts in there, people would play. And as a certified instructor, I'd be happy to give lessons to those that don't know how to play. Thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
I ask you a question while you're up here? You seem to be an expert. I don't know anything about pickleball. You looked at that tennis court, obviously.
Yeah.
What do you think, what would it take to turn that into a pickleball court? I mean, what are we looking at, cost? What are we looking at?
Well, you've already
labor?
got the fencing there.
Mhm.
You've got the surface there. They just have to resurface it and put in 3 nets.
Okay.
I think it would be an
fairly-
easy fix. Most places, I know that New Smyrna and Edgewater, they got to start from scratch, and that's a project. But I know that the ECHO is doing some grants. I think it would be an easy fix, really.
Okay.
Echo, I can get, the Echo grant manager has already sent me the grants that they received this year from New Smyrna and DeBerry and Edgewater. It's a 50-50 grant, so you'd have to match that cost. Of course, theirs are a lot more intensive because they're doing, in Edgewater's case, I think they're doing 10 courts and then another 10 courts, and they're building some kind of stadium seating and all this. But that shows you how popular this sport is. I happen to play pickleball, and it will get people at that park a lot during the day, morning, during the day when, you know, that park's unused, because a lot of them are retired. And there's always people looking for new courts because it's that popular, you can't build them fast enough. So I, you know, in talking, I said maybe if we can get some numbers, you know, from the community on who would use it, maybe it would help to convince us whether it's a good project to go forward with for an ECHO grant or not. And I can look and work with the county on, you know, how extensive it would be to fix the surface. I don't know if they'd have to go in there and, you know, level it or.
I don't think they'd have to level the whole thing. I think they can surface coat that thing. But I mean, it's easy to do it, they're easy to maintain. And I guarantee you don't have to lock the gate. You'd have people playing a lot. And not much more I can say, except if you need somebody to talk to about it. Have any of you all played pickleball? No takers? Nobody? These are all my people for lessons right in front
Well,
of
the
me.
good thing about it, like you said, you know, a paddle, and you know, paddles ranged, you know, you can buy an expensive one or an inexpensive one, but, you know, kids could pick up that sport here who don't have a lot of money to play some of the other sports that are a lot more costly. And it might be something really good to work with Burns School with, you
Sure.
know, to get those guys out and learning pickleball. So, you know, I think you'd find that between getting new people interested, but also the current people who already play, that park would be well used.
We've been talking about this for couple months now, I would say. Have anyone got any sort of pullback from it, from tennis players? Like, are we gonna make any tennis players upset that we're taking their tennis courts away?
You aren't gonna upset any tennis players.
You see some people
You
who play.
try to
I
find
do
one.
see
Yeah.
people play tennis from time to time up there, but it's very, 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 I mean, it's not very
Not
often.
that many.
You know, if we could use the other court, I know we talked about using that other pad instead of the tennis court maybe, but, sounds like pickleball would be more, that court would get used more than
Yeah,
Sure.
the tennis
I
court.
played tennis my whole life.
Okay.
And somebody said, why don't you come out and play pickleball? And I said, pickleball? I don't like the sound of that. But my wife dragged me out there and we played, and I said, God, this is a great game. And I gave away all my tennis rackets. And I had picked up, it's been 10 years since I started playing pickleball. But
Okay.
it really is an interesting game. I mean, you can walk on, you can play for 10 minutes. I play in New Smyrna Beach now, at Live Oak, and there's always people playing there. So it's like a pickup game. You go there and put your paddle in the little bin, play as long as you want, and leave. I
And
mean,
it-
you don't have to call anybody. You don't have to do anything like that.
And it's very social too. I mean, the New Smyrna Pickleball Club probably has close to 300 people, I'd
Yeah.
say. And, you know, it all revolves around pickleball, but they do other things as well. And I also played tennis my whole life and was brought kicking and screaming to a pickleball court. In fact, I met Gina through a mutual friend, so I know Gina. They live in Lagunas. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth considering. I think if you're looking for something that's going to be well used, you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck. Yeah.
Would council like Janet to look more into this?
Yeah.
I know we have
Definitely.
gotten quotes on it before.
I
just
looked
can't
and I
remember.
couldn't find anything.
As soon as I get a second, I'm gonna dig in and find it, because it was like $60,000, but I don't think it really would cost that much. But I kinda remember that number.
Maybe if you were pouring all
probably if
over
you're
the
starting
concrete
from
and
scratch.
stuff, that
Maybe if you're
would,
building new
you know,
slabs
get
and
up
stuff.
there.
I think it might have been the K2 paving guys or something that, maybe,
I don't
well, it was it was a while ago, but it seemed like that's why we didn't do it, was because of the price, if I remember correctly. But who knows, maybe there are alternative ways, like he's suggesting, to get it surfaced well enough to where it's good to playable surface, but
Okay,
Do most of the courts have a gate around it or a fencing around it like the tennis court up there?
Yeah.
They do?
So you don't have to go chasing the ball.
You don't want to chase balls.
Gotcha, okay.
And that would be 3 courts in that
Yeah,
tennis
3
court.
instead of the one single
Mhm.
that you have now.
The fence probably would be one of the most expensive parts
Yeah.
for us, really,
Yes.
you know.
okay. Well, if you guys would like Janet to move forward with looking, we'll get something put together and bring it to another meeting.
That'd be great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
So are we all consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other citizens' participation?
No. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Joe Curcio, 228 Lagoon Mist. I'm a pickleball. My wife's an instructor, and she was playing tennis and took a pickleball. And it just comes down to whether you want the park used or not. If you want it used, it'll get a lot of use. I'm sure the people right across the street probably won't like the added people there, but it'll get a lot of use. And personally, she plays, I don't know, 6 days a week and drives. I'll probably save about $1,000 if she can walk over there a year in gas money. So I'm all for it. And I'm sure you guys would probably donate some lessons to the kids, right? Yeah, once a month or something.
That'd be
Get
great.
the kids involved.
Yeah.
I had 2 other questions. Is there an update on the development that was being planned across the street from the gas station on the other side of US 1? The one just north of Lagoon Mist. We were talking about the size of the lots and stuff. And the other thing, I hear this a lot when I'm here, talking about the mobile homes that are all crushed and all the debris. Is there anything happening
Yes.
before hurricane season?
Yeah,
That's all. It was just,
that property has, it's in the county, the property's been sold. They're in the process, the new owners are in the process of getting demo permits to go in there and clean it up, and then they'll be annexing into the city to repurpose. I don't know what their plan is for that property, but, it'll be all cleaned up and new stuff.
and the development? You said it was a court case with the development?
Yeah, we're gonna, it's on the agenda. We're actually.
Thank
going
you.
to that.
And did you
That
want
is
to
on the
comment?
agenda for discussion later on, yeah.
Okay. Did you want to comment on the gardens?
We'll
No,
talk
okay.
about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else?
That's it under that.
All right. Moving on to consent agenda. We have minutes for February 10th commission workshop meeting, and then we have minutes for February 10th commission meeting. Does anyone see anything that needs to be changed or added to those minutes?
No.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes, and we have a second. Any discussion further? Any discussion from the citizens? Okay, and at this time, we'll go for a vote.
Oh, sorry. Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Toscano,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Droniger,
Yes.
Commissioner Warning,
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Moving on to city administrator, follow-up items.
Several things from the past couple of meetings. Mary Deweese Park, the gates are now unlocked during the day, so if anybody needs to drive back there, you have access. Travis brought somebody out to talk about the lighting of the sidewalk and how to best do that. There is a pole there with some old lights on it that I guess don't work anymore, so.
Doesn't light up the sidewalk.
Yeah, well, he said he can make it light up the sidewalk from that pole,
That would
much
be
better,
nice.
much better than if you use the light on the building. So, we're kind of working on that to get that light installed.
Good.
I wanna let everybody know that 129 Randall, the, installation of the vacuum pit that I know has been going on and on and on, is now complete. And, I called John Peterson the other day, and he's happy with it, and he's very happy that it's finally complete, so we don't have to, have that on any agendas anymore. The school crosswalks have been repainted. I've talked to Travis about maybe starting to think about some of that alternative, right now we just hire a guy who literally paints them. There is a material that you can put down. It's a lot more expensive up front, but it lasts many years. So we might look at doing that the next time they need to be redone.
Okay.
A little update on TD Bank. We've started the transition and moving from all of our finance from Truist to TD Bank. I had one meeting so far. It's going to probably be a 60 to 90 day process to get everything switched over. We'll start by opening a couple accounts at TD Bank and start kind of transitioning our vendors, those that we pay monthly. We've got to get all those things, new accounts created so that they can automatically be paid from TD. But I'm very optimistic. A lot of the things we're doing now with printing checks and everything, TD Bank is telling us we'll be able to do what they call ACH, like bank to bank with our regular vendors, which will save a lot of time, and we won't have to print checks anymore. The vendors will be happy because they'll get their money quicker. But there's a lot involved, so I just wanted everybody to know that it is going to be a process and probably won't be 2 or 3 months until we get it all done. I also had our first meeting with Universal Engineering Inspections. This is the company that currently subs for Dennis when he's away and we need inspections done on any building permits. The new contract is for all new developments, whether it's a commercial development or a subdivision. Universal will handle all the inspections, both the horizontal inspections for the site work, the underground stuff, the paving, the sidewalks, the ponds, as well as the house inspections or the building inspections for non-residential. So we're in the process of working out how that all happens. Be very little for us to do here in the office, which is a good thing. Most of it will be done through their portal at Universal Engineering for the contractors putting in for inspections. We'll be able to see that portal, so we'll still have access to everything that's going on. The only thing we will have to do is issuing the initial card for all the inspections that project will entail and collecting the money. And then just a reminder that the way we've structured that contract is Universal will get 80% of all that income and we'll get 20% of that revenue. So that will save the city a lot over time because we are getting 20%, but we have very little work involved in it and we don't have to hire anybody. So there's a cost savings in that. Couple of other things that I don't have on the agenda, but I wanted to kind of let you know. One is we have started getting our records management process into place. Those of you who come into City Hall will see, kind of the mess we have of all sorts of records in file cabinets and boxes. And Megan Jones, I almost said Bracy, Megan Jones will be, she's taken a couple of online courses through the state and has been working closely with the state to understand what we have to keep for how long, how we have to go through a process when we're ready to destroy those records, how they have to be destroyed, that sort of thing. In doing all that, we will have a lot of records that I'd like to clear out of City Hall so I can do some improvements in here in the building to improve the look of City Hall. So I've talked to the mayor and I'm gonna be getting a quote from for an outbuilding. The outbuilding would be behind City Hall. We paint it the same color as City Hall, and it has to meet state standards, so it will have to be climate controlled and that sort of thing, but we can store all the records in there that we don't need access to on a daily or weekly basis, but we are required to keep, sometimes for years and years. So that way we can get them out of the way, so to speak. So I'll be bringing that to you hopefully by the next meeting. If I can squeeze that into the budget, I'd like to get that building over here so Megan can start her job of getting the files that we need to keep boxed up appropriately, labeled, and put in that building.
Didn't we used to have something similar to that out back?
I'm not familiar.
If we did.
I'm not even.
We
You
did,
talked
didn't we?
about it for
I remember
years,
who-
but you never did
I remember
anything.
who did it, you know, but it's been a long, long time.
You talked at one point about adding on to the Public Works building,
Yeah,
and then that cost was so exorbitant. You talked about getting a storage shed.
right. Well, this
But nobody
building
ever
was
did it.
out the back door and right behind there where there's some kind of a pump. I think. I don't know. We can look into it.
But yeah, I'll be bringing that back to you hopefully at the next meeting with some pricing on that.
Okay.
See if I can tell you that we can do it in the constraints of this year's budget. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that Travis Allen has taken and completed the stormwater, first of the stormwater classes offered by the state. So he is now certified as a stormwater operator level 1. It was a 2-day class and he had to take a test at the end of that. So that is our first, and he'll go for the next level certification eventually. But he's learning a lot so we can get in compliance with our stormwater permit.
That's great.
Awesome.
And then kind of along those lines, next month, or I'll be bringing you, I'm going through and putting together new job descriptions for the public works positions. I need to create a new position that is gonna help me with administration. I know the mayor's familiar with this because he's been sitting in on a lot of the calls I've had with DEP and the state, but we have not been fulfilling what we need to do under our MPDES permit. And a lot of it is administrative work in the Public Works Department. We need to set up files and records and forms, and they need to be filing lots of things, keeping real detailed records to be in compliance with this permit. And I just don't have the time to do it. And it's a lot of computer work, and we've set up a desk in the back with files, and we'll be getting him a computer. But I need, part of the reason I got that 4th person is this person will be a working director, but yet probably I would anticipate 1/3 to 1/2 of their time might be spent doing things in the office. They'll still have to, as the need arises, you know, get out on a piece of equipment or mow the medians or whatever, but I need that in order to get a system established for Public Works before we grow any more. That system needs to be in place and working smoothly, so from here on out, we don't run into this problem again. And I know I've told you this, we haven't gotten the letter yet, but we will be getting fined from DEP because of our lack of care in doing that. So I need to make sure that now that we've addressed it and gotten it all straightened out, that doesn't happen again. So I'll be bringing those back to you. I'm hoping I'll have time to complete them and bring them back just to approve the job descriptions. You know, it's my job to kind of decide how they should be filled, but it's your direction on what jobs we have here in the city. So I'll be bringing those back with proposed job descriptions, salary ranges, that kind of thing. And lastly, we have spent, and I shouldn't say we, Druian has spent a tremendous amount of time working with our developer billing and our budget and straightening that all out. I think I've told you when I first started here in November, we had not sent out a developer bill since June. So we had to go back and figure out who to bill what, probably upwards of $100,000 when you look at all the bills that we had to figure out and go through from Mead and Hunt, from the attorney, from Kimley Horn, figure out what project they had to be billed to, create those invoices, send them out, hear back from developers who were like, why am I just getting a bill from June of last year? But we're close. We've been paid by most of the developers. We're still working with a few, and then we have a couple holdouts, Garden Street and Lighthouse Cove being among them, and I don't know if they're gonna come through with paying us or not, but I'm bringing this up to let you know that I'm going to be paying Mead and Hunt and Kimley Horn for that work, because again, they've been waiting on getting paid for some of this since last summer, and it's not their fault that the developers haven't paid us. One thing I think we need to do is look at our, the way that when you all adopted that developer billing and pass-through of the consulting engineers and planners and attorneys' invoices, I don't think it was thought about what if they don't pay. We do have a way to get them when they come back for another approval, that we don't have to put anything more on the council agenda until they pay. But like with Lighthouse Cove, for example, if they just decide not to move forward, they owe us about $20,000. So if they decide just to sit on that land for another 10 years, we're not getting that $20,000. So we need to go back. We need to go back and look at how we best handle that, so that we're not left paying for that, because it's taxpayer money that we're having to use to pay that. But we're getting better. I mean, we did get Oak Hill Town Center, Oak Bridge Colony, they all owed for upwards of $20,000 apiece, and we did get those payments. So it's getting better. It's just, we're not there yet.
Would there be a way to stay current with what they owe if we were to, like, every 30 days or?
Yes, now that we've got them up to current,
Mhm.
now when we get a bill from Kimley Horn or Mead and Hunt, Drew Ann will process those once or twice a month,
Mhm.
and we'll be sending those bills out regularly. It was just that because no billing had happened for that 6-month period, we were having to bill for incredible amounts of money.
Wow.
So, yeah, we'll be current from, once we pay them the rest, and I've told Julianne that I want to pay the ones, even though we haven't been reimbursed from Lighthouse Cove or Garden Street, we're going to pay those bills. We're going to pay Mead and Hunt and Kimley Horn, and then whenever we get reimbursed from the developers, then we'll just be paid back. And this did impact our budget tremendously, because those bills, we're billing for last year. So it's an auditing nightmare too, to be collecting money from last year. It's been a lot of work, but Joanne's done a great job at getting us caught up to speed on that. And now I will be bringing her contract back at the next meeting. She's no longer doing minutes, as you can see, but I'm going to be recommending that she stay on as our accounting person to make sure those bills are sent timely every month, and not just for developer billing, for all billing. So,
Is there any litigation we can go back against these developers? I know it was the prior administration, but is there any litigation we can go back against them to collect the money that they owe us?
It depends. It's something that we can look into in terms of what the current pass-through structure looks like, if that does give us, the ability to do that. I think Garden Street's kind of a special situation, but Lighthouse Cove, having had their approval, that's something that we're gonna I will look into for you.
And they haven't had an approval, that's the problem. They did not get their, if you remember, that was the only subdivision who didn't get before the former board
That's
to
right.
get their approvals
Right.
before the new board took over, and for whatever reason, he has not come back with plans to get before this board. So I've contacted him, I haven't heard back, but,
He'll be back.
Doesn't it say right on the application cover sheet that they agree to pay the fees?
yeah.
That's not a full-on contract or what?
Yeah, that would be a contract. That's something that we could pursue.
And we have to be able, Lighthouse Cove started kind of, I don't know if they started pre or post. There were several iterations of that development review. So, yeah, we'll have to figure that all out, but,
They had the other planner too, it wasn't Jimmy Zorn, it was the other guy. I never could figure out how to say it.
yeah. But the good news is we have collected a lot of it, so. And that's all I have right now.
All right, moving on to old business. Commissioner Terry Moore.
Okay, so before we get into this, I wanted to just make a quick statement. On December 9th, 2024, we had a litigation strategy meeting, shade meeting. And during that meeting, the topic of discussion was the Garden Street development. Prior to that meeting, two of the commissioners had disclosed conflicts of interest and had fully and completely elaborated upon what those conflicts of interest were, and that they would be abstaining from voting. They appropriately disclosed and they appropriately abstained from voting. Florida statutes requires that in addition to that, that a Form 8B be filed with the minutes of the meeting. So we've gone ahead and prepared a Form 8B for both Commissioner Drollinger and Commissioner Warning, who abstained from the voting on that particular item. In addition, I will be asking that they read the narrative. Again, these are things that were previously disclosed, but in the interest of complying with the letter of the statute, I'd like them to go ahead and read the narrative of the disclosure into the record for this evening. So, Commissioner, would you like to go first?
The city attorney called a litigation strategy meeting discussing the city's involvement in a potential settlement of Bonnie Lindsay versus City of Oak Hill, Volusia County, case number 2020-11-266, CIDL. A vote was taken with respect to the city's litigation strategy in the case. Subject matter of the case related to alleged Sunshine Act violations of the Oak Hill Planning Land Development Regulation Committee, which I was a member of at the time of the alleged Sunshine Act violation occurred. The commission voted as to the litigation strategy and settlement discussion may ensure a special gains in terms of potential awarded to the attorney.
This is Commissioner Drollinger's. This is the one that we had.
No,
We
I
have to
was the
correct.
PLDRC board.
You were, but the special
Oh,
benefit, it would
that-
have been
the
a
special
loss. as-
okay.
Yeah, so it
Okay.
would have been, inured a special
sections.
loss as a potential civil fine of $500.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
And then Commissioner Drollinger, I know that we made an amendment to yours. I just want to verify that we have the updated version.
We do.
Okay.
But also you chose to recuse yourself from the vote.
Right, accordingly, I chose to recuse myself from the vote.
There you go.
Exactly. Okay.
And
city attorney called a litigation strategy meeting assessing the city's involvement in and potential settlement of Dominic Lindsay, the city of Oak Hill, Village County, case number 2022-11266 CIDL. A vote was taken with respect to the city's litigation strategy in this case. Subject matter of this case relates to an alleged Sunshine Act violation of the Oak Hill PLDRC, which I'm sorry, that's not,
That's the.
That's
is that
for
the
Carrie.
previous version?
That was my version.
yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we had an amended version prepared. I'll get with Jenny.
That's the one I printed out, the one you
Is
sent.
the amended one? Okay. Which one do you have right here?
The one I gave him was the one you just sent
Do
me.
you mind passing that down to me?
Yeah. I believe that's
It wasn't in the packet, it was laying on top of your
Mhm.
stuff.
That's,
It was a separate one.
oh, there's two of them.
Okay, and this is the wrong one.
Pick up where you were as far as I was a member, but after PLDRC.
So you were not a member, but you were
Okay,
named
the subject
plaintiff.
matter of this case relates to an alleged Sunshine Act violation of the Oak Hill PLDC, which, let's see, this one says the same thing. I was a member at the time.
Okay. We'll verify, but in the
Okay.
interest of, we'll get the correct form entered.
Yes.
But the language to enter into the record this evening would be, I was a named plaintiff in that case, and then the rest of the disclosure is correct as far as the commission's vote pertain to strategy discussions,
Okay.
which may pertain, or a special game in terms of a potential award of attorney's fees.
So I was alleged, which is,
You were a named plaintiff,
named plaintiff.
and then everything
Okay.
else.
The commission's vote as to litigation strategy and settlement discussions may ensure a special loss to me in terms of civil penalty of $500 under section 286-0113A. Accordingly, I choose to recuse myself from the vote.
Okay.
Does that cover everything?
Cool.
That didn't work.
Yeah, that did
Here.
not.
What?
Read this one. Because you were just,
This is the,
it was about the attorney fees, not your,
yeah, here's the,
he's got it, he's got it.
I've got 4 copies there.
yeah. I dealt with this on my, yeah. Apologies for the headache on that.
Okay, so from the commission's vote, I need to read.
Yes.
The commission's vote as to litigation strategy and settlement discussions may ensure a special gain in terms of potential award of attorney fees, sections 286.0114. Accordingly, I choose to recuse myself from the vote.
There we go.
We good?
We're good.
All right, no more copies? All right. Thanks, Joe.
Moving on to public hearing. Number 3.
All right, so previously, the commission had noticed and scheduled a quasi judicial hearing to reopen and reconsider the final development approval for the Garden Street development. Prior to that, prior to today, on February 13th, the city entered into a consent judgment with the plaintiffs in that action. And that order declared the ordinance void ab initio, meaning that the ordinance being 2021-0-02, which was the zoning ordinance, the RPUD zoning ordinance was void. So anything that arose from that, based on this order, would be, the foundation of it is no longer there. So, as far as the city is concerned, there is no longer a final development approval for there to be a hearing. One caveat to that is I attended the hearing, the final judgment hearing, with counsel for Garden Street and counsel for the citizens that had brought this action. And the court made clear that there may be some issues as far as the impact of the order on Garden Street's rights. Basically what they said is they would not enter an order that made it to where Garden Street could not challenge the order as it impacts their rights. So What the official language was is it is, the ordinance declare, or the order declared the ordinance void as between the city and the parties. But it left it open for Garden Street to come back and challenge that. I've spoken with Garden Street's counsel. I anticipate that they will, but for the purposes of today's meeting, there will not be a quasi-judicial hearing because, you know, as I mentioned, the order effectively erodes the foundation of the final development approval.
So the zoning on the property has now gone back to R1 that it was originally.
Yes. Now, that does not mean that Garden Street cannot challenge that. The position that they took was that we have gotten rights through these final approvals. We're not a party to this case. You're taking something away from us when we're not here to defend it. We have the right to come back and defend that. I expect them to do that. But as far as where we sit right now, the order has effectively returned it to R1.
Okay. So what's your recommendation?
So, our recommendation on that is we should go ahead and, our staff's recommendation would be to table the hearing for 90 days pending Garden Street's response. I actually spoke with Garden Street's counsel this morning, and they indicated that there was interest and discussion of resolution on this again. So I told her, you know, I would be attending the meeting tonight. I would communicate that. She didn't really give me anything to go on in terms of what they would be willing to do. We had previously communicated our position. So I just effectively asked her, you know, hey, take back what we previously talked about and you let me know where your people stand on that. So, again, our recommendation is to table for 90 days pending whatever they choose to do in terms of challenging the final judgment that rescinded the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any reason to bring up that acknowledgement document now, or?
So, the acknowledgement document, great question, would really be more related to a suit against us for damages. Where they're sitting right now would be, you know, we say, hey, look, it's gone. You know, the ordinance has been rescinded, as between the parties. You can, you know, try to prove that it's not, should you want to, but until you do, there's nothing we can do. So they may do that. Really, the document you're referring to relates to the potential liability to the city. There's nothing really preventing them from challenging the final judgment, trying to establish that, hey, you know, this didn't impact our rights. But until they do that, again, it's our position that it's back to R1. So really the ball is in their court at this point.
And they have 90 days from when?
So since this was previously noticed, I spoke with City Administrator Shearer about this. We didn't want to just cancel it. So we elected instead to continue it pending whatever they choose to do. There may be a situation where we do want to go ahead and move forward with reopening and reconsidering the final development approval if they intend to, you know, challenge the order on this. If they don't, maybe there's no reason for us to. So when we start getting into tinkering with prior approvals, there's always the possibility of some liability. So again, we kind of wanted to, you know, take a second and just see what their next move is really what the recommendation is.
Even though in that document that they list the sunshine law case specifically.
Mhm.
You're basically saying it doesn't mean a thing?
No, absolutely not. It could. It could be, as far as if we were to, I guess a better way to put it is, I don't think that document prevents them from challenging what happened with the rescission.
Me
Or-
neither, but they acknowledge that they're willing to accept the risks associated with continuing to process their application, so that's what they asked us to do.
Yeah.
And there was consideration on both sides, so
Mm-hmm. And so by accepting the risk, you know, the argument would be that, you know, we accept the risk and that we're not going to bring a case against the city for damages if this falls through. Whereas I don't think that that document would prevent them from saying, hey, you know, we don't think that this has impacted our rights. We'd like to get a declaration from the court that basically says, hey, you know, we still have our zoning here. Which they have the right to do. They can pursue that. I expect that they may. And we'll just have to see what happens when they do.
So at this point in time, we just kind of sit and wait.
That would be my
And
recommendation.
keep your options open. This tonight that's on the agenda was to reconsider their final plan
Right,
approval
right.
because this commission saw some problems with how the previous commission approved that plan.
Right.
So now that if they were to bring back a court case,
Mhm.
and if for some reason they were able to convince a court that their new zoning should still stand, we keep this open so we can at least say we still want to reconsider their final plan approval, just as an option. Not that we have to act on that option until we see what they're gonna do, but if we don't do anything and just let it die, then we're saying, you know, we're putting all our eggs in one basket. And, you know, we wanna keep this open just in case.
the court's ruling covered the zoning and the preliminary development plan, right?
It did.
So
It did.
wouldn't they have to have another preliminary development plan, or?
What we're doing is, since the city has already paid to notice this hearing, again, we keep our options open to bring this forward again. So we're tabling it to a time certain in the event that they successfully challenge. I don't know if they will, but again, it leaves it open and it avoids the cost of needing to notice the hearing again.
When you say successfully, you mean that the court finds in their favor?
If the court were to find
Because
that
they could
the
challenge
order,
it, and wouldn't
yeah,
doubt that they will, you know?
yeah, they may. And if they do, you know, it would be nice to have that already noticed and ready to go. So we can say, okay, you know, you guys have established that your, you know, final development or your zoning is still intact. But the commission would still like to look at what happened with the final development approval. And then we would not have to renotice it again. We would have it, you know, tabled to a time certain. And again, the city would not have to absorb the cost of noticing it again.
And when we say 90 days, don't
You
we
want
have
me
to
to
pick a date for the commission meeting? Because 90 days might not fall on a commission meeting.
Okay, let me see. How about,
Probably like first meeting in June or last meeting in May.
we wanna do May 26th?
Okay. So we'd be asking for a vote to table
That's
this
Memorial
item.
Day.
Oh, wait, we don't have a
That's-
meeting.
that's
We don't have the
Memorial Day.
second meeting in May, so it'd have to be the
Yeah,
first meeting in
yeah.
June.
June 9th.
Okay, So we'd be asking for a motion to table this item to June 9th.
I'll make a motion, we table it till June 9th's meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any discussion from the citizens? None at this time. Let's go for a vote.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Toscano?
Yes.
Commissioner Hyatt?
Yes.
Commissioner Jollinger?
Yes.
Commissioner Warning?
Yes.
All right, motion granted to let's see, new business. Was that Takuri mining special exception?
Yes. I put in front of each of you the proposed site plan for this project. Tonight, the only thing under consideration tonight is a special exception for where you see the gravel outdoor storage area. Under the current zoning, they have to get a special exception to store things outside. And they're asking to store equipment out there in the back of their building. In the staff report, I've outlined what they're planning to do, how big the building is, how big the storage area is. Again, all you really are concerned with tonight is the outdoor storage. The rest of the site plan will come back before you at a later time for approval of the actual site plan. On page 5, you'll see staff's recommendation is subject to 3 conditions of approval. So if you could, if you're planning on approving this, make sure that those 3 conditions of approval are part of your motion. The other thing is to let you know that the PLDRC met on this past Thursday and voted to recommend approval of the special exception. And then the applicant is here tonight. I don't know if you want to make a presentation or if any of the commission has any questions to answer those questions. And it's been noticed and we posted it and we advertised, everything's been handled.
Good evening, I'm Bill Hawkins-Smith, Ford Engineering Group. I'm here representing Takuri Mining. They sell surplus mining equipment and export it. And this is something, the website, I mean, it's probably like a cab, like an axle, gear equipment. I mean, nothing. Some of the questions from the planning board is, do they clean anything? Is there contamination? No, everything is clean. It's ready to be exported. The other item was the height of the equipment. I mean, typically it's less than 5 foot high and it's on a pallet, and we have a 6-foot fence, which is maximum allowable.
You answered my questions.
Okay, okay. They were ahead of you, okay?
And I asked the question because I thought it was something to do with mining, but nothing to do with mining.
It shows a fence around the perimeter of the outdoor storage area. What type of fence do you plan on using?
It might be chain link with screening. We haven't decided yet.
Okay, but it would be more of a closure screen
Yes.
where you don't see what's in there.
Yeah.
Right.
And that'll
Okay.
be part of the, I mean, you can make it a condition of approval on this if you want to see a particular fence.
Sure.
Or that will be part of the discussion in the site plan approval process.
One of the other commission or comments you had was 15-foot buffer around the property. Right now, we've had close to 30 feet along the highway. The Kennedy Parkway and the south property line are heavily wooded. We plan on keeping those natural buffers to help screen the property.
So even along US 1, you'll have that 15-foot natural buffer.
Not a natural buffer, and that'll be cleared
Okay.
to some extent. We
But
don't
they'll
have
have
much.
15 foot of landscape.
Yeah,
Paving.
well, more than 15 feet of landscaping, yes.
Okay.
And I explained that my reasoning for that part of my recommendation was, this area is surrounded by conservation and agricultural, so just having more trees on the site blends in, and there is a resident to the south. And as well, it's one of the first things you'll see entering Oak Hill, and we want to make a good first impression, so they happen to
Absolutely.
be there, and they're gonna help us make that impression.
Will the ponds hold water, or are they gonna be dry?
We haven't gotten that far yet. I mean, there's wetlands on the site, on the south end along Kennedy Parkway. So that might be wet, the northern pond might be dry. We just have to meet nutrient loading, which is better for dry ponds.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
That'll be part of the site plan.
right.
We've already had meetings with DOT. They've approved a driveway conceptually on US 1. The fire marshal wants a secondary access point, so that'll be gated on US 1.
The one that I handed out tonight doesn't show that, but if you look at his plan, you'll see a little gate
right
there. It won't be, customers and trucks will not use that, it'll just be emergency access.
Just be a gated driveway up there.
Yeah. You said you met with FDOT?
We've had conceptual meetings with them. They've given us a letter of approval to proceed as long as we meet the 660 feet spacing. And then we had to get back to them, say, the fire marshal wants a secondary access.
Right.
They agreed to that.
Well, I know it was brought up in the PLD meeting, and this will be something that apparently will come back before us, but I do agree that trying to make a U-turn there at Route 3 is not gonna be a very good solution.
Right.
You're probably gonna need to relocate that turn lane to a more visible place, and also something that doesn't have such a high grade
Right.
for turning, before your equipment gets stuck in the road out there. But other than that, the rest of the plan,
Again, all
Looks
you're
good.
looking, all
Yeah.
you're doing
All we're
tonight
doing
is
is that
just the outdoor
special exception.
storage,
yeah.
Okay.
You got the dumb question for the day. So we're not storing gravel in there, it's just a gravel
It's
surface.
a gravel
Right.
surface,
Right,
yes.
so
Okay.
that their stuff can sit on top of
Okay.
it.
Now, this equipment, I assume, has oil in it, and it's coming dry, or is it full of oil?
I don't know the answer. They just said there's no equipment repairs on site.
But if the equipment has oil in it and they have a spill, how would they
No.
deal with
This
that?
is his.
No, it's mine.
It's probably equipment that's ready to go to be shipped to the final place or something.
Yeah,
The way he was making it out.
but it's still gonna have oil in it,
It could, I don't know.
right? We're backed up to a refuge.
Yeah, that would, right now, they're just asking for a special exception just for the storage area. They'll have to answer those questions on the next
Well,
go
if there's
around.
if there's a potential for an oil spill or something, or there could be leaky equipment, because it's used and new, right? Is that what it says?
Well, it's refurbished
Refurbished? And
or surplus.
should there be some kind of a liner under the gravel, or,
Yeah, that's my concern, is
So
when you
it's,
store
you know,
this
some
stuff,
way to
How do
capture?
you prepare for? how-
containment.
Yeah, containment of it, thank you.
You can make your approval subject to that.
When it comes before us for
No,
the.
for
No,
the
for
special
this one.
exception.
Oh, for the
Yeah.
special.
Do
That's
you,
my only concern,
Okay, I know.
we've got the
Yeah.
river, we've got the wetlands, we've got the refuge.
I agree.
And I've worked on equipment all my life, and, even though it's new, it doesn't mean that it's not gonna leak.
Mhm.
It does happen. And dealing with hydraulics, I've yet to see a hydraulic system that doesn't leak. If it does, it's out of oil.
Very true.
but it would be, I think having the liner or something under that,
Yes.
is, because what you don't want is U.S. Fish and Wildlife coming down on you.
I know, no, we don't.
Yeah, that's my only concern, is
Might be a-
containment of this equipment.
Could you make it, if we have oil in the equipment? I mean, if there is no oil in the equipment, then we would not need a liner. I just don't know the answer right now. Whether
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that equipment, even if you drain it, you're still gonna have residual in there. You can
Right.
get it all out,
And we wouldn't be able to police what they're doing,
Yeah,
if it has oil or not,
Correct.
after
Yep,
they tell us.
You're right.
correct.
Mhm.
That's my only concern, sir.
Okay, I understand.
So, next time I would love to hear that.
Well,
Look into it.
we'll have to.
You would add that as one
As
of the
an addition.
conditions of.
Yep.
Okay.
The other question that I had, so, I'm looking at the curve and everything, and I'm just wondering, so this fence, if it's chain link, would it be like those little plastic pieces that they pull through the,
Probably not. There's,
or just like a tarp hung on the other side or something?
and there's close weaved, like screening, and it's fairly solid.
And it's just tied onto the inside of the
It'll be
fence? or
just sort of
like
fastened to the
kind of
fencing,
a
yes.
charcoaly looking color? I think
Oh,
I've
there's-
seen that before,
Yeah,
that's
there-
why I'm asking.
Yeah, there's all sorts of colors.
Yeah, I got you.
I know chain link is cheaper, but I prefer a wood fence or solid fence of some sort, but that's something we can talk about later.
Well, not really.
No,
This way.
it is part of the, this is the special exception, so anything to do with the outdoor storage, if you're, wanting specific screening, I mean, you know, I think it will be opaque, you know, you won't be able to see it.
But we're only
But
talking-
if you want that specific fence for around the
The gravel?
outside, this is the time that you'd have to say.
Okay, but we're only talking the gravelled area, fencing
Right,
around that
right,
gravelled
Yeah.
area.
Right.
Okay,
That's
and it's
really-
behind the building.
Some of
Well,
it
not
is,
really, not from the
Well,
corner.
half of
Some of it
it,
is behind.
half
Not
of it
when you're
is.
driving south or north, you'd be able to see it, because there's nothing gonna be in the ponds to obscure it. Only when you're right in front of it would the building be a screen
partial
for it.
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
maybe we could look at, like,
Is the purpose of the fence, I'm sorry, Carrie.
maybe we could look at just a solid fence on the exposed area, you know, that's like this area here, that would be visible from the
two
street,
ends.
the two end pieces.
Is the purpose of
In
the
other
fence
words,
for security?
this section next to the building and then that back section, so that
Okay.
when people are coming down the road, they wouldn't see it. That's all.
Is the purpose of the fence for security, to keep people from swiping the stuff that's in there?
I don't think you can swipe it very easily.
No?
Yeah.
Feel through
You'd be
gravel.
surprised.
That's how
Good
to
luck
screen it.
picking it up,
It's,
Joe.
it's to screen it, so we don't have to
Screening,
see
yeah.
it.
Huh?
You see how big that stuff is?
No, I didn't.
It's
Okay.
tons
It's,
of cast iron.
I got you.
They should put a person in there to show you the.
The
size of it.
If that's 5 feet high,
No one's
you know,
walked off
it's
the
the size of your desk, you know,
Yeah.
size of the car, you know, basically.
We had a guy steal a Bobcat here one time. But that looks like it might end up getting.
Well, the fencing is for screening, so it's to hide the fact that you've got stuff back there, so if you want a particular fence, this is the time to say that.
I'd like to see the one that has those little plastic green pieces that are pulled through at an angle. You know what I'm talking about? You ever see
Yes.
those on a chain link fence? I mean, if
Same
I
as
was
they
gonna-
got in Indian Harbor Estates at the.
They don't, you're not gonna end up having like any barbed wire on the top because
No,
it's
it's not,
not.
No,
no.
no.
Because
Yeah,
the strip
rather
is
than
something that
septic
you're.
system.
You're not gonna
That's
walk
what
through
you're
with
talking
that.
Right.
Yeah.
The black strips.
So that
But
would be
you can
my
see
preference.
right
I don't
through
know
there.
Yeah.
if that's a huge financial burden or what.
You need to get a council, you need to make it a part of the motion, and the council would need to approve that.
Okay.
Two things I'd like to see is, the fence to, to cover the equipment, so you don't see it, whatever that is. And containment for the oil.
Okay.
Some type of containment system, because anywhere in industry, when you've got equipment like that, you have to have a containment system. And it's best to have that, and I don't wanna see that happen here in our town.
Any more on the fence? I'll make a motion that we go ahead.
We gotta get public comment, if
Oh,
there is any.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Was there any questions from anyone? Public comments? Would like to add? No? Do you want to make a motion?
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan with
The special exception.
with the special exception, excuse me.
That's okay.
The The development will require secondary ingress on the plan as applied for. The lighting needs to be turned so that it lights your property, but not the roadway,
Right.
shining on your property only. That the perimeter landscape and buffing be increased to the 15 feet. That we add some sort of a liner underneath the gravelled pit area to take care of any potential hazardous material leakage onto the property, and that we make some form of a fence blocking all view from the side of the building and the side especially. Personally, I'd prefer it to be a solid fence, but, you know, that you come up with some sort of an arrangement that is not that you can't see
You
through
just
it.
wanna see through it, right.
That it's a solid surface of some sort, that you can't look through it. Like shade cloth, you can look through.
Okay.
Okay,
That's your motion?
that's my motion.
Do we have a second?
With that.
Mark seconds it. Any other discussion? Comments? None? Okay, let's go for a vote.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nazareno,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Jollinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Warning.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
City goals.
I have nothing on that tonight, Mayor.
Just customer service improvements and employee training and education that we try to stay on top of.
Yes.
All right, any comments and concerns from the commission? Yes,
Can
Ms.
we get a date for the city cleanup like we do with Waste Pro or whomever? We usually do that in the spring. Otherwise, it's too hot to stand out there and guard the
Yeah.
dumpsters.
Right.
What is
Yeah.
that all about? That people bring it here or that? Waste
No,
Pro-
they have dumpsters all over. Where in
once-
Waste Pro, they have one at Mary DeWeese Park, they have one on Ariel Road, they have one on Flamingo. Where's the other one?
Here
Here
at City
at
Hall.
City Hall.
And that's for tires and things.
Yeah, they bring the toxic things like paint and tires here.
Batteries.
You gotta
Yeah,
arrange it
batteries,
with
stuff.
Waste Pro.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that would require,
See them
Somebody
once
had
or
asked
twice a
me
year.
about it, that's why I'm asking for a date or a time.
Sure, I can do
Sure.
that. I just haven't, I wasn't aware of it, but I can talk to Steve Cameron.
Yeah, Steve will know all
Yeah.
about it, yeah.
Do you have something on that?
Yeah, on economic development, some comments, and we did the city cleanup a number of times, and it was very successful. Everybody's really happy with it. Do you want economic development comments while I'm here? It's not on the agenda because I don't have any presentations. These are just a couple of comments. Some of this came up today. I know you have asked me for notice a week or so in advance, but you know, when I have a
If they
presentation.
can't wait until next month. then,
Well, it's,
then-
some of it's, you know, won't take long and it's pertinent. So, okay, thank you. I've had 3 separate media inquiries on the history of the VIA Hall Museum. I've sent them pictures, I've sent them copy, and I'm gonna follow up, you know, hey guys, where's your article? Southeast Volusia Ad Authority is adding Goodrich and the museum to the website, which they have just redone. It took a little bit of arm twisting. The budget at SVA this year is $7.5 million. I didn't get out of the way quickly enough, and I'm vice chair all of a sudden. Sevmatech's job fair is on April 1st, which I think you know from 3 to 7, veterans get preference. We would like to have a link to Sevmatech on the city website. It's,
I'll look into that.
okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, anything else, Linda?
Yeah, one other thing, the Friends of the Library has another winter concert on March the 16th. It's in Shun Park at 3 o'clock. It'll be Still Cooking from Lighthouse Cove. good group. They always have, we always have around 100 people.
And what time was that?
3 p.m. on March the 16th. It's always on a Sunday.
Okay.
And that's all.
All right. Anything from you, Joe?
Just missing my friend Charlie.
We all are.
Yeah. Keep him in your prayers. And Carol.
Carol, absolutely.
Anything for you, Mark? Only thing I got is tomorrow's Linda Hyatt's 21st birthday.
Happy birthday, Linda.
We all want to wish you a happy birthday.
She gets spanked.
You can drink now. Do you have something, Jeff?
Just want to remind you, Jeff Reese, 196 Westbrook Circle. Vice Mayor Catagano, last year, you talked to this council, not this council, but the council previous, on putting, and I think it ought to be brought back up, the fees ought to be forward. Every other county is the same way. You pay the fees for planning and attorneys up front. We got 20,000, we talk about 20,000 tonight. It's sitting out there. We're not sure we're gonna get paid. I think you guys need to put that on the next agenda. We need to start collecting the attorney fees and the planning fees up front, or at least half. Osceola County, 36,000. Right there the day you signed the dotted line, without even turning the dirt. We don't need the money on the taxpayers' backs. And this is one of the complaints that was the last previous council didn't listen to. So please put it on the agenda. You wanted it, they voted against you. So I think it's a golden opportunity now to put the fees, attorney fees, planner fees up front. So we don't look back and say, well, they owe us this, but they didn't bring it. Wait a minute, that's wrong. Make them bring the fees, do the planning, do the attorney fees. If they don't, but bring half. You follow me? Thank you.
What we normally would do is maybe propose to have retainers from the applicants. So depending on what they're building, if it's a small commercial site, that might be less than if it's a 1,000 home subdivision. But you'd work against their retainers. So if they gave you $10,000 to start, you'd bill against that, and then when it's getting down lower, you'd collect the next amount. That way, at least you'd have things. Part of the problem was with not billing for 6 months, those fees were racking up. You know, if they had billed during that time and they didn't pay, you could have stopped approval on some of these things. But, you know, for example, Garden Street, there's 20 grand out there. They went through the whole final development plan and still owe that amount. So I can't promise you I'll have it fixed by next meeting. A lot of this isn't an issue right now because we don't have a lot of planning going on right now, but I do need to get it in place before the next people come in.
And that, in order to accomplish that, that would require updated language in the fee schedule and also on the application cover sheet? That might be what you
Yeah.
have to do for us?
Yeah, we'd have to go in and kind of figure out how we want to word that and if we're going to require money up front. Yeah.
Thank you.
Better than 12 years of passing the taxpayer money on to the landowner, which is how we did it before, so at least we're moving in the right direction, thanks, Jeff.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you, everyone.